Welcome back to another episode of the Full Tank Truck Talk. We're here for Nashville Superspeedway. And once again, it's Friday Night Lights, folks. I mean, you can't beat it. We've had one real bad race from a betting standpoint this season. And I think it was because it wasn't on Friday night. So let's fucking go. We're ready to rock here for Nashville. I'm your host, Phil Eastman, host of the Full Tank with Phil podcast. If you want any Cup Series action, you give that podcast a look anywhere you get your podcast. But as I mentioned, we're here for trucks, and I got a lot to talk about tonight. I'm going to try to make sure that this isn't like a super long video here tonight because I'm just excited about what we have here. And we're coming off a pretty good race. So the rundown from last week, just touch on it quickly. At Charlotte, we had Corey Heim winning. I mean, who really didn't, but had him at a better number than he's going off at this week. I can tell you that for free. And so we hit that, hit a couple head-to-heads as well. We had Hemrick over Carruth, and we had Honeycutt over Enfinger, I believe it was. So that one hit. Both of those guys really performed well. We took a shot on a long shot top five, had a little fun with it. Stuart Friesen, he was, a flirt with it, but didn't work out. It was a good bet, though, at the end of the day. The one that killed us was Rose and having him over Jones. We thought we were taking a road trip. Didn't work out. And we're going to get some vengeance on this episode, I think, later down the road. But overall, a winning week here at Charlotte. So let's move forward as that was the race recap. Let's talk about, I guess, Nashville in general here as my screen goes in and out. We're talking about Nashville. It's not really a super speedway. They call it a Nashville Superspeedway. I don't know why. But this race on Friday night, you got to be well aware of one thing to start, and that is this is a very tight window for this show, a one-day show. And a lot of times when we're seeing these Friday night races, we're seeing practice and qualifying earlier in the day. This week at Nashville, for whatever reason, qualifying isn't until like just after 5 o'clock. The race, and I'm talking Eastern time, the race doesn't start until 8 o'clock Eastern time. So that's a very small window. Point being, as you're watching this video, until practice and qualifying, make sure you get your bets in early, because I'm not sure if they're going to have enough time to get these re-racked and stacked up there for us to bet on after qualifying. I would love that, because this is a racetrack in the Truck Series that I think that really matters, but we might not have the opportunity. So, look through what you like. Hopefully you like a couple things from this video, and we place those bets before so we don't miss out on having some fun on Friday night. This is going to be 150 laps on this 1.33 concrete track. This is a unique racetrack. There are no direct comps. Dover is thrown around as something because it's concrete, but Truck Series hasn't been to Dover in like 5 years, so nothing there for us. We will sometimes mention the 1.5 miles this year, because that's the other closer thing that we can look at is the 1.5 miles. We've been to a few of them already this year, I think 4 total. So when it makes sense, I'll bring that up in some of the data points here. But we've got stage breaks at lap 45 lap stage 1, 50 lap stage 2, and a 55 stage 3. So just small increments there moving forward. It's going to be a quick one here for the Truck Series. So let's talk about the outright market. Okay, this is a tough one. Corey Heim, okay, he's the talk every week, and we know this. We knew this going into the season. Every week, that is what it's going to be. And he is so short. I saw him, I believe it was Bovada had him plus 100 for the win. Like, that's insane. That's like Kyle Busch type stuff. Now, as good as he's been, there's been 11 races this year. He's only won 4 of them. So it's not like he's winning every single race. He's in every single race, and he's top 5 in people to death. But my point here is that I feel like if there's going to be a race where somebody else might have an opportunity, I'm going to go with Nashville here. So I'm not going to call out Corey Heim as an outright, because I think we want to have a little bit more fun. And I think that there is a chance that somebody else other than Corey Heim wins that race. So I'm going to call a name out for the outright section, it's not going to be a big surprise. But as we go through some of these other bets, if you're someone who likes to take maybe a sprinkle on some of these long shots, there are drivers that I could see in victory lane at Nashville. So I'm going to make my point for maybe a certain bet on them and then talk about maybe a ladder play, take them for a top 5 and a win, head to head and a win. So they're longer shots, and that's because Corey Heim has this market just absolutely bombarded. So not to say that if Corey Heim goes out and scores a victory at Nashville, I'm going to be pissed off or like, what the hell happened? No, I mean, that's very possible. When you're taking it, I almost didn't want to talk about outrights this week because of how good he's been. But hopefully, you listened to our season preview episode and you took Corey Heim over 4.5 wins on the season. He's got 4 already. So at this point, another victory cashes that season-long bet, baby. And now we're really swimming in it. So, hopefully, I know everyone didn't get a chance to play that bet, but that's part of where my mindset is now for Corey Heim. Hopefully we get that. So let's start. If it's not going to be Corey, well, who's a valid option here? And I said this on the draft YouTube show earlier in the week. For an outright this week, if I'm avoiding Corey Heim, we're getting a pretty good price on Kyle Busch, plus 275. He might be plus 300, depending on where you look, but I saw him standard DraftKings, plus 275. Here's the deal with Kyle Busch. All right. He's got 2 starts at Nashville a million years ago, 2010, 2011. What did he do when he was driving in that 18 truck for KBM? Put the truck on the pole and won the race. He led, out of 150 laps, he led 140 and 131 respectively. So this is not, I know it was a long time ago, but this is not a track that he's coming into and he's got to, get to know. Maybe the track's had some changes since then, but the fact of the matter is Kyle Busch has raced twice here and he's won from the pole both times. So it's a reminder to the good old days for Busch in the Truck Series. Like, he really has that ability in him at any moment in time. Now, this season, he hasn't had the quintessential Truck Series year for Kyle Busch where he's winning 4 of the 5 starts that he gets. But this is his 4th start of the year. He's got 1 win at Atlanta. It's okay, nothing really to write home about there. But he's got a 9th at North Wilkesboro and a 5th last week at Charlotte. And this is another factor for me. Now, so he raced at Atlanta, took some weeks off, got North Wilkesboro, 9th place. That's a disappointment for Kyle Busch. Races the week later, Nashville, bumps it up to top 5. Now we're getting an opportunity to see back to back for Kyle Busch in the same series in the truck. I know he's riding the 07 truck. That Spire situation is always wonky, but I don't know who dictates the number for these guys dropping down. The point remains, plus 275. 3 years ago, we'd be salivating at this number. And I think that this is a track with his history, with, the opportunity kind of there. I think Kyle Busch and the consistency now in the Truck Series 3 weeks in a row, that's why I'm into this here, plus 275. So we'll see how it plays out. He's going to need a good practice session. We haven't really seen that much from Kyle in the trucks at all. But maybe, I think we're kind of hoping that with this contract situation with RCR settled down for next year, he can really start to focus and lay some good lap times down off the truck and put himself in good position. So that's where we're at for the outright official pick. But like I said, we're going to be talking about sprinkling on some guys later on, some of these longer odds. All right, so let's move to this next segment. And this is the finishing position, the placement segment. And I've got one driver that comes to mind in this area. I got a super long shot. If you're a fan of the super long shots, I got one for you later in the finish line section. But for right now, we are getting plus 300 for Tyler Ankrum finishing in the top 5. That's on Bet365, but it's not much different. Maybe it's plus 275 elsewhere on the more available books. Tyler Ankrum. Oh, sorry. This is actually on ESPN. I wrote that in wrong. It's probably on both. Plus 300 on ESPN, which is more available than Bet365. He has struggled a little bit in the last few races. We're not hiding from that. He has struggled. Even with those struggles, let me hit you with this. He's still tied for first in top fives this season with 7. He's tied with Corey Heim with 7 top fives. Corey Heim is minus 550. I saw on one book he's minus 900 for a top 5. And this guy, Tyler Ankrum, has 7 of them, just like Corey Heim this year. Now, I know it's not the same thing, but the stat is very weird. So that has my attention right off the bat. He's got 4 Nashville starts, 1 top 5, 3 top 10 finishes. Okay. Last year, he was in the 18 truck, which is where he is this year with McAnally. He started 14th, brought the truck home 5th. So a great run there. He was 7th in, he's 7th in driver rating in all the last 4 races at Nashville out of all the full-time guys. In 2024, he was 6th in green flag speed. He was 5th late in a run. And it's just, he was part of that team with McAnally, we're going to touch on in a second, that dominated that race. So that team, I have a lot of confidence in this week. So if you have the opportunity to bet Chevy this week, I haven't seen that come up on the various books yet, but maybe Friday morning. I think Chevy and this driver in particular is one to really watch. Kyle Busch, as we mentioned a second ago, they've got some dogs in this fight going into Nashville. 2025, the comps, the mile and a half, he's 6th in average finish on these mile and a half tracks. So plus 300. It's part of the number as well. Like this plus 300 number is just wild to me. I really can't comprehend why they have him so long, because he's been a consistent driver this season. Now, I'm going to throw this right in as a segue into our matchup segment because I also have Ankrum. Now, it's funny because the matchups this week, usually when you get to the Truck Series, you can go to ESPN, DraftKings, Bet365, Caesars. You get various Bavadas in there, various head-to-head matchups. This week, for whatever reason, it's like the same set of 5. And so that is interesting to me. So the other part of it is you can get different odds. Some of these books are way different. We've got Ty Majeski facing off against Tyler Ankrum this week, and Ankrum is minus 110. This is, again, on ESPN. All right. This is just a bad year right now for Majeski. And I don't know if Nashville is really the get-right track for him. I don't see that as the place where he's going to do that. I'm just trying to find his numbers here. Ankrum, the last 2 years against Ty Majeski, is 2-0 head-to-head against Ty Majeski at Nashville. And then going back to this year and his struggles, he's got 0 Ty Majeski, 0 top 5 finishes since Las Vegas. That's our champ. Like, what's going on? I don't like that. And so it makes me shy away from wanting him in any capacity. And now I'm getting minus 110 an underdog for a driver that I think could win this race. I think Ty Majeski could win, Tyler Ankrum. This is a battle of the ties. We're all tied up here. This is a driver that I think could win the race at a monster number. So here's a little sprinkle on Ankrum, plus 2,800, which is wild. And 3-1 for a top 5. Ankrum as an underdog on ESPN, it just doesn't make sense. It's just Majeski. He's too tough to trust. Ankrum, I believe in this week. So we'll wrap up there talking about Ankrum. I'm pumping his tires enough already, but hopefully you get the picture. I'm looking forward to see what they can come out with this week. All right, the next one. This is our revenge matchup. And this is Jake Garcia. And I mentioned some of these books have various numbers. I saw Jake Garcia minus 150 on one of these books. So Caesars has Garcia minus 120 over Ben Rhodes. Ben Rhodes scorned us. We almost had a perfect 3 for 3 last week on the head-to-head matchups. And we said he has struggled. Charlotte would be his track to get back. And there wasn't anything there. So I'll get into my notes here. I mean, he let us down last week, that's for sure. On his best track, he just couldn't perform. Head-to-head versus Brandon Jones, part-time driver, it was never even a factor. Like, never even sniffed this one, it felt like, watching that race. Now, he's coming to a track, Ben Rhodes, we're speaking of roads right now, where he finished 7th last year. He was 8th in green flag speed. Out of 4 starts in Nashville, the last 4 races in Nashville is 8.8 average finish. That's first in full-time truck drivers, which is pretty impressive. But you ask yourself, why are we fading him here? Well, it's not just because I'm an idiot and I'm like, oh, you screwed me last week, Ben. No, it's because when you dig in a little bit further, like this season that he's having right now is kind of unprecedented for him. Last year, we saw momentum for Ben Rhodes. He didn't get off to a great start last year either, but by the time we got to Nashville, he was starting to put it together. He had a good finish at Charlotte coming into Nashville. He had that was a 5th place last year at Charlotte. He had a 3rd place at Darlington, which is, they could be running the same type of package. It's not a direct comp at all, but still. And he went on a bit of a run. Okay. We would then be asking Ben Rhodes to start his run now, like with no data to pull from. And that's just not me. I like to look and see what we're getting. So my point being is last year when he had a good finish here at Nashville, it was because he had already started to put it together. We're not seeing that right now with Ben Rhodes. So I can't trust that his 8.8 average finish first in the Truck Series is going to come to fruition this week. Bring in Jake Garcia, -120. There's a reason why all these sports books have him as the favorite here. And Jake Garcia has 2 starts at this racetrack, finished 10th both times. He started 17th last year, worked his way up to 10th. And that's, really what we want to see. We want to see progress. But it's more about this season again with Garcia. In 2025, his average starting position is 6.1. 6.1. That's insane. And a 10.6 average finish, which is like 5 or 6 spots on average better than Rhodes. And we're talking about all tracks here, but still, Jake Garcia, I wish I put a little chart together. These guys are like 2 ships in the night, just like going the opposite direction. Jake Garcia is actually starting to put a season together. And so that him being stronger, his qualifying order number is going to be later in Group 2 than Ben Rhodes. He should be starting better. He should be continuing that hot streak of good starting positions. It's just all setting up for Garcia to just go out, finish top 10, and win this head-to-head matchup. For Ben Rhodes to score a top 10 finish seems like climbing a mountain at this point. So we'll see. I mean, I got my eyes focused. Part of the reason why I like betting this is because I'm super focused on these two and Rhodes especially, because I want to be able to bet Ben Rhodes like last week. I was excited to bet him last week, but it's not clicking for them. That team's just not there. That 99, not right. So we're going to go with Garcia. He's won us some money already this year in various ways. We're going to see if we can do it again. All right. Last thing we're going to throw out there. We're going to go back to a matchup that hit last week. This is on DraftKings. Make sure if you like the Hemrick side here, you go to DraftKings to bet this one because this is -115 a piece on DraftKings, whereas in other books, let me see where else this is. He's -135, for example, over Carruth on ESPN. So DraftKings has these guys even odds. We'll take it. Carruth, we'll start with him. Last year, top 5 finish at this racetrack. Great. Good for you. Just great finish. But the year before, he did not have such a great finish. He finished like a million laps down. So I think he was like, 40 laps down. I'm not quite sure what happened to him in 2023, but still the point that I'm trying to make is that up and down experience at Nashville and up and down this year, up and down career. It's, I need my guy, Derek Yoder. He's like the Rajah Carruth whisperer. He seems to know when Rajah is going to go out and do well. At least, last year and the year before when we would do the podcast together, he had a knack for that. Okay. I don't. And Rajah to me is like the guy in your fantasy football team. He's your running back who you put on the bench, and he puts up 2 touchdowns and 150. And when you start him, he puts up, 3 yards and gets hurt. So I am going to look at the flip side of this matchup. I am going to look at Daniel Hemrick, who in 11 starts this season in 2025 on all tracks, Hemrick is 9-2 head-to-head against Rajah Caruth. So while, we're kind of cheering for Rajah to turn his season around, become playoff eligible, we've got Hemrick who's just consistent. We've got Hemrick who's beating the shit out of him on a week-to-week basis. Now, last week it was a smidge. It was like 8-9. 8th place for Hemrick, 9th place for Caruth. But still, 9-2 is 9-2 this season. So I'd want to be on that side as opposed to taking a shot on the other guy here. He has, it's a tough situation here for Hemrick because he's got 0 truck starts at Nashville. So it's a little bit wonky. And maybe that's why DK's given us this -115 number. He finished 8th last year driving in the Cup Series, but as I documented on the Full Tank with Phil pod, that race last year in Nashville was a shit show. We had guys, not fast, finishing up front because they were able to just keep getting through the overtime restarts. But he finishes 8th. Okay, can't take that from him. And he's got a couple top 10s in the Xfinity ride at Nashville as well. But here's the kicker. That McAnally 19 truck absolutely smoked the field last year. What Christian Eckes did last year was start 3rd and lead every single lap. Stuart Friesen started on the pole, and Christian Eckes took that right away from him by the time they got to turn 3. And he led every single lap, every restart, every stage break. He was able to just hold serve, as they kept saying. So, do you think just because Christian Eckes has moved on, the McAnally team, the 19 truck, just forgets how they did it last year? Absolutely not. That's why I'm high on Ankrum. I think this team is going to bring it, and they've got a driver who's very capable. He has really come into his own since Vegas, Hemrick. We documented it last week when we were talking about the same matchup. So now he's getting a ride at a racetrack that led every single lap. I love it. I absolutely love it. And just trying to check here, just to double check where he's qualifying. He's going out 26 of 32. So a little bit ahead of Rajah. Probably not going to have too big of an advantage there. They'll probably both start inside the top 10. And I'm happy with Hemrick in that matchup. So that's our final head-to-head here. Hemrick over Caruth. So, and by the way, Hemrick, another plus 2,800, little sprinkle, see if that 19 truck can do it again. I'm in on that. So not, throwing that out as an official pick. That's just how, myself, little play on the side to have a little fun, because I do feel like this racetrack will be open to have someone steal one. All right, so let's take that away. We'll go to the finish line because I have a couple guys I want to talk about here. I want to mention Lane Riggs. He's up towards the top of the, if you're looking at the odds board, Lane Riggs is up towards the top. Kind of look at the stats and kind of question that a little bit. Like, why is he so high up? He's had a couple rough finishes. Last year, he got something on a splitter, got into it with Parsons, and then ends up, finishing pretty shitty. But he was a top 5 truck at a time last year at this racetrack. And then looking at this year, the mile and a halfs, it's got a 9.8 average finish with 3 top 5. So yeah, Lane Riggs is definitely someone to keep in mind in some way. I wish he was a little longer. He's like plus 600. I wish we could get him a little bit longer just because he's so volatile. But he is going off, like I said, all the books have the same matchups, and he's going up against Chandler Smith, who I don't have much faith in this week. So I would take Riggs over Smith if we're just kind of spitballing. That's what the finish line section's for. We're just riffing here, okay? So Riggs is one. How about these two guys, Honeycutt and Enfinger? I am very interested in Honeycutt. He finally performed for us. Finally got a win for us. We hit it. And I was staring down this matchup. So all the books have these two matched up against each other. I don't want this matchup because Enfinger is really performing well as of late. Since Rockingham, he had a 5th at Rockingham. He had a crash at Texas, but then a 9th at Kansas, 5th at North Wilkesboro, 6th last week at Charlotte. Like, he is really coming along, doing Grant Enfinger things. So do I want to trifle with that? No, I do not. But then Caden Honeycutt, our boy, people that watch these videos are probably sick of me talking about him, but now's the time to strike. Now's the time for Caden Honeycutt. We've got him. Looking at him, he's 14 to 1 to win the race, and I really like that. Plus 165 for a top 5. So if we're going to avoid the head-to-head matchup, I think Honeycutt, he's going to get a good qualifying order. He's second to last, right in front of Heim. So he should start well, which we've been waiting on a little bit of momentum to build here. Great finish last week on 1.5 miles. We thought that was what's going to happen. This is a loose comp track here. He was running top 5 last year in this race and had some sort of like oil situation that took him out. It was a shame. He was running so well and had to take it to the garage. He was smelling oil burning or something, and that's all she wrote. So I expect them to be fast off the truck in practice. I expect them to get a good qualifying spot, and I expect them to try to take some revenge out. So he's another one I want to be on. When that finally cashes, if I was not on it, that would be devastating. So both these guys, super interesting. Waiting for them to really break out and get their victory this year. All right. So for anyone who's waiting around for the absolute moonshot, again, just spitballing here at this finish line, I got one for you. This is a name we haven't mentioned all year long. Okay. And I hope you can have some fun with it like I am, and you're not going to be like, what is this idiot talking about? How about Matt Mills for a top 5 plus 1,800? Yeah. Top 5. This would be an absolute beauty if it hit, but here's the reasoning behind it. All right. I'm not just throwing his name out of left field. I'm not the type of person that would do that. But as I'm digging in here, top 5, and also if anyone plays like the daily fantasy, keep Matt Mills in mind for that. This might be more of a daily fantasy play than anything. But last year, he had his best finish of the season so far, 7th, okay, in that 42 truck. And last year, this is a similar conversation to what I was saying about Rhodes and trying to apply, momentum and whatever, opposite of Rhodes. Last year, he had a 4th place finish at Charlotte and backed it up at Nashville with a 7th place finish. 4th place last year at Charlotte was his best finish of the season to that point. And then he goes out and puts it 7th at Nashville. So we're seeing a similar situation unfolding here with Matt Mills, where great finish for him at Charlotte. Can he get 2 spots better at Nashville and finish top 5? It would be a huge payday if he did. Let's not forget that 42 truck, Carson Hocevar, led like 45 laps in 2023 and won this race. So again, I think it could be a team situation. They've got that ability. This is an interesting conversation to have. If he starts, horrible and can't put it together, then hey, whatever. It was worth a fun conversation. But if he does pull it together, we've had these talks this year with Friesen. He started well. Tanner Gray, who's another one that might be a DFS play this week. He went out when we called him out for a long shot top 5 and was running top 5, was out of the race with like 2 laps to go because of something mechanical. So one of these is going to come home eventually. This is just a fun one to mention. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Matt Mills, that momentum coming from Charlotte, see if he can do it again like last year at Nashville. So that's going to do it for the Truck Talk this week. Friday Night Lights, Nashville. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know who you're on this week, and let's cash some tickets here going into the weekend. It's a triple header night race weekend at Nashville Superspeedway. Hope everyone has a good weekend, and we'll see you next time.